Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Friday, and welcome to Friday, December 19th, Trading Trends ETF edition wrap up on the day, the week, and the top three moves of the year edition. If I saw you last night in FIDI for the CMT event, it was good catching up. Yeah, you should get your CMT if you're considering it. It is very, very great. I use it all the time and very well, and it helps contextualize visually everything and anything. All right, let's get to it. So today, the big moves were from. And also Wednesday, yeah, we did the midday try, but there was a problem with the audio. I will do one more video on Monday. Oh yes, my friend and good CMT as well, Chris Miller, will be joining us as my first ever guest, really, on this program on Monday. He's a registered investment advisor and portfolio manager, so he'll be talking about what he's seeing. We'll go through our charts here as we usually do, and you'll see a little box with his head on it. He was there last night, and it was a good time. So we'll talk some technicals with him on Monday, and then I'll be done until January 7th. So we'll have a longer, not a longer, but we'll go through the forecast and everything where we see things going for the next 2 weeks. Let's start with today. So today, India, well, which we've highlighted a couple of days ago, biotech and tech, both, all of them, they ran 2% today, while vol through the VXX proxy fell about 4%, a new all-time high for silver. This is not, I'm just not running through indices, of SPY, Russell Qs. No, the new all-time highs today were silver, gold miners, copper miners, platinum, and then what do you know, European financials. Let me just check one thing here. So yeah, the metal story, I didn't want this to turn into the metal show in terms of at the end of the day or the end of the program, highlights of the week and the year, but a lot of it's honestly gold, silver, etc. VXX did put in a new all-time low today, by the way, that one trading with a 27 handle. And when all said and done, when you zoom out, this week was really characterized by big 6% moves in Brazil and silver. I think you can guess which one was negative and which one was higher. Silver up 6%, Brazil down 6%. That was the trade du jour this week. All right, let's get into the dashboard panel. If you have a ticker or something, put it in there, so on, so forth, and what have you. All right, let me share the screen there. I'll get to the index. Boom, 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 boom. All right. NVIDIA up 4% to that 181 level. The Q's monster day. We'll take a look at tech in a sec. Broadcom, wow, finally up 3%. Has it put in a bottom? Bottoming processes are ugly. It is a process. It's not an event, although V-shaped recoveries would have you fooled. Broadcom, this thing has been bleeding out since they reported 8 days ago. Finally, maybe we'll see if it's reversing. Oracle, a big 7%. That is the AI trade coming back. Maybe our fears are overblown and things are not as bad, and we're not all in on this one, pretty big bet. But that's a big move for Oracle, a stock that has been pretty much in the dumps, still up 16% year to date, but 7 of which has come from today. Palantir up a big 4%. You can't catch them all. This one, nicely zigging and zagging. Like I said, I played it for a small long, or a long for a small gain, and is finally having a nice follow through today. Google up 1.5%. AMD, they really came for the semiconductors today, up 6% for AMD. We were just talking about how bad this name has been recently, though up 77% in 2025. Nike, an awful day, down 10.5%. It's down 23% on the year. Nike having significant problems, and that is it for that. As we get into the intraday action here, this was a buy 'em and run away all day. So here's 8:30 when we had the early preliminary, I believe we had numbers, and that took us from 675, and then at the opening bell, they were off to the races, 676, and then actually sent us all the way to 680, a little bit too ambitious, as it were, because then we had to actually get down to earth, also known as VWAP, and we touched that orange line, or 679 even, and we held it no problem, even dealing with a going lower 200 bar moving average, each one constituting 30 minutes. I have that constitute at 680 even. We actually broke above that at noon and held it all day. So very impressive trading. We held VWAP, which was 680. A good day. SPY up 90 bips. Q absolutely crushing it. On news that they move to being an open-end fund, so you won't see those annoying commercials anymore because they don't need it. It's the GOAT of ETFs. As I zoom out, going back to the SPY, yeah, so this looks pretty much as I said, but this is going to be tethered to that 680 level. When they sell it, I still think we're going to sell the RIPS environment. We're like, whoa, what do you mean? I still see us, it's going to be basing next week early. I have the 26th as my date, and I don't like to change those too much for the bottom date. But of course, that's, Christmas or the day after Christmas, and you have to be a little bit flexible. But I still see us being tethered to about 680. Ugly sell-offs will get you to about that 660 level right here on my cursor. All right, don't forget 660. You haven't been there since November 21st, the week before Thanksgiving. And that's if you get an ugly sell-off, 20 points from here, 3%. I don't think it happens, but I do think you base in the next couple of days. And my target still now, although it gets a little bit because we're already at December 19th and volume's really going to dry up on Monday. You're going to see really just watching paint dry in terms of SPY volume hour to hour. But I do think we have about just things a little pushed back. I mean, I'm looking at the charts here. I have probably for a 695 to 696 target right around there for SPY, but the date is closer to about Jan 11th or so. So not quite. I thought before there was a picture perfect Lightning McQueen Pixar shout out chance that it would get on the nose New Year's Eve 700 SPY. I don't think that's as likely now, just given the factors. Although I know we're talking about seasonality and all that, the Santa Claus rally, I do believe in it. A nice 3% possibly right there in a handful of low volume days. But we'll see. Right now, I'll give you more of an update forecast on Monday. But right here, like I said, we're going to base next week somewhere at the absolute low of 660 or so. Again, tactically, just really recently when it's been the low is 672. That's much more in line. We've actually been holding those levels since 2 days before Thanksgiving, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, it seems. So that's the forecast. Like I said, early January, looking at 696 or so. All right, so that's pretty much it. Strong up 200-day moving average. You're above 50 RSI again. Usually that's when things strengthen. Let's see where they are rotating into on the day, the week, and the year as we wind down 2020 fizzle. All right, India. Number one, this is a big move today, up 1.5%. We've been talking about this chart. India peaked back here in June, back in summer at $56, and then honestly fell out of bed at the end of July. And then honestly, once it got above that $54 level, it's tried to resolve itself higher, only to get Dikembe'd at the end of October with the global or S&P highs back then, rather, with NASDAQ peaking then, is when India had almost gotten close to breaking out, being overbought condition of 72 RSI, and then hasn't reached that level again since. Today is above 50 RSI for the first time since Thanksgiving. I'm seeing lower highs here, but you have a rising 200 moving average. Kind of an interesting picture. Look at the candle today, a clear rejection. They sent this thing to 54.59 and they said, no, thank you. They sent it down 1% from there. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think this has a good 2 weeks. I think this is based. I think it's done the job. This would have been essentially what I was seeing with SPY, basically living in a rectangle, as it were, for a little bit more time, and then a spring forth. That's what basically is happening here with India. I like India for the next 2 weeks, but here's the thing. The ceiling will remain 55 even. I don't think it even gets to the October 22nd peak, let alone, of course, these June highs of 56. But I do think today was a possible way to trade it if you got inside that bar again. But above the 200 moving average, 53, it's almost like deadish money in terms, to me, it's just range bound. It's going to be between 53 and 55, but I do like it with a bullish bias for the next 2 weeks. This has not even had a red day since the 16th. So 3 great green days in a row. This thing tested 53 and they said, no, INDA does not belong here. Let's send it higher. Way too fast. Let's eke into it. And then I do think it etches zigs and zags of something like this and that and this and that. And then it ends up being a 55 target in about 2 weeks. So I think if you're in India, yeah, I wouldn't buy calls because you're probably going to bleed out. But if you're, I don't think there's leverage ETFs way to play this one. So yeah, not worth it for me to play, what is that? 85 cents of upside, 1.5%. There's possibly things to do, but low vol, and don't forget, low volume across the board, most likely next week. This is a trade I am in, XBI. This one had a great day. This is honestly the only long I really have on. And then a Rigetti quantum computing ratio short against this because I still think the market just going to have a lid on it for the next couple of days in select areas. But biotech, great looking setup. If you run some different scanners, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, preclinical, postclinical, all these biotechs are coming up positive in the scans right here. After this nice little mean reversion, you'll see this coming off of all-time highs here on December 8th of 126 spot at a nice pullback to the 20-day, got you to 120, and boom, a nice move to 123. This, talking about an area that's been hot. Since this group, XBI, has marched above the 200 moving average, it's coincidentally also gotten above a 50 RSI. All this happened on August 13th, and it's been no looking back. It was $88 then. It's 123 today. This thing looks great. I love accumulations under 120 if you're able to have it, just because it was just there, to be frank, and it's been there for the past 3 to 4 weeks. So you don't want to chase too fast. But to be full disclosure, my full target on this is right about 126. 126, absolute 127. Don't forget the highs, like I said, is 126. So I'm thinking it breaks it. Today, a beautiful looking candle. They sent to the 124.02. VWAP 122 half. They closed that robustly. And again, when you're above 50 RSI, the line never gets too crowded. Stochastic momentum mix has stopped essentially declining right here in the past in this run. See also mid-November when you have a bullish formation like this. So good looking things here. This could get to my target 126, 127 in about, I had it for 2 weeks from now, but it looks like this could be doing it sooner. And then I'll exit as I will my 2025 book and then get it going for 2026, where I'm excited to do some interesting things. I'll be sharing it on the air. And maybe I'll talk about it a little bit with Chris on Monday. All right, number 3, it wasn't just biotechs. It was also regular broad tech, hence the Qs up 1.3 move. We'll focus on the, tech is more, it's exposed to the semis, and you saw semis running amok today. So the XLK up a smidge higher than quite a bit than the Qs. Tech almost up 2.2 today. Don't forget, as I said before, with like India peaking in mid to late October, same thing with the Qs, XLK. It peaked at 153 on October 29th. And boom, not even close to a double tap. This thing got to 149 and then started to go lower. That, scares people. Right here, your 52 RSI. So that is, good that you've recovered above 50. But right here, this is kind of goes with what I'm saying with the S&P in terms of SPY being straddled to 680. I see tech not going too far away from, honestly, 144. Give or take. I still see a little bit of a bearish bias going into next week with a low of about 139, potentially on an ugly sell-off of some kind. Don't forget the low volume next week. So there could be a Fed chair saying something, and maybe, I don't know, he didn't get cookies, and we're going to cut 25 bips, and I don't know about who else or other, but it could always be a fun week. But I could see possibly them sending it down to 139, and then that'll be the final test. And my target for early to mid-January on this is 150 even. So the good and bad news is nice. We're resolving higher, but still more work to do to get above that 153 spot level. I don't think that's going to be what it takes here. I think this is going to be the move from about, to be frank, around this 140 level. It's tending to 150. That's a great move on a $1.80 ATR, average true range stock, and that'll probably be it for tech for now, as they still rotate into all these other areas, and we'll talk about them in a sec. Okay, so those are the big multiple standard deviation movers today. If you were in India, biotech, or tech broadly, you had a wonderful day. I know I did. I'm in the biotech part. All right, so let's look at the losers, and there was only one. There was one loser, and it's actually kind of an inverse because of the bullish thesis behind it, obviously, was VXX. They set VXX lower by 4%. Quite a day. The word tranquility comes back to mind in the markets, which is why I don't see that kind of an ugly sell-off down to 655 or so SPY, unless it got ultimately thin and that kind of thing. You just use it to sell into strength, but I don't see that happening. For me, to be frank, I said before, with this whole SPY being in distribution mode until the end of next week or so, I said I wanted to see VXX get to about 31, and that'll let me know the move is done. This has been absolutely pathetic. This has been a move from 29 to, I dare say it lower, to 28, and now VXX is oversold for the first time since September. And basically what happened then is we were on cruise control, and we continued to go higher to the end of October highs. we're almost in that environment again. The stochastic momentum mix, again, this is very difficult to chart a non-time series with a borrow heavy futures reset like VIX short term. But I still look at it. It is informative to me. You can look at dollar VIX too. It's not all-time lows, but it's very low. It's cratering. That being said, I don't think this is pretty pathetic. I still think, and I don't want to forget about the 52-week, the all-time lows today, but I still thought this would have another couple of days of bullishness to about 31, or things are even better than I thought short term for the markets. So that's all I'll say about that. Could also be going into the holiday time that VXX, of course, volatility would not expand. It would contract. So you're going to have, probably up 15 BIP days instead of usual, maybe up 65 BIP. And that in of itself is pricing in the weekend and the further week ahead of a short week. So that's what I'm saying. Again, I want to kind of see this move to 31 one last time, or maybe 30 half, because that'd be a big move from here. And then that will say, okay, time to get long, and that's it. All right. That was the loser today. That was it. Volatility. All right, top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. Let's do it. There was number 1. I tried to diversify this list. They kind of all got on one side of the boat. Silver up 8.5% this week. I feel like I'm saying this every day almost, it seems, since, these highs back here in August and even more in September and then November. Up 9%, we'll call it, this week to an all-time high, almost 2% a day. Today it's up 3%. They love this thing. This has honestly been overbought essentially since, my God, I mean, you call it, since $40, since early September, you name it. They've been flocking into silver. In terms of the setup here, it's super extended. I want to have a high risk reward entry. For me, I would love to get in at 54 even. Yes, it's at 61. I think you're going to see an exit, short-term exit of this trade when you see S&P base and bottom, and then finally start to rip higher. And you see, like I say, VXX going lower and everything. So more so end of next week or the following after that, I think you'll start to see this move towards $54, and that'll be your invitation to get long, but to a near actual realistic target of about 58. Right here, it's extended. I wouldn't chase it here, but again, it can do this for a while. It's seen here, it literally is on this Dustin Hoffman-like run, and it can do it for weeks longer. It's overbought. People just get in line, buy it, and then ask questions later. So it's extended here from the moving averages. It typically doesn't get, $5 away or more than 10% for a long time, but you are getting some vol expansion. This could hit 63 before it comes down for air, just as crazy as it is, but I'm not chasing it. At 54, I would love to get in. Silver, best week of any ETF, up 9% this week. And the candle, look, they were upset that the bell rang. 61.16 the high. The VWAP 60.54, it held that. They almost want to buy more Monday morning. Absolutely crazy. Silver. Number 2 best week of all ETFs. I had to subtract silver miners, gold miner juniors, because it's all the same trade, essentially. A very high correlation. Number 2 was India, believe it or not. Nowhere near silver's 9% gain, but up 2% is India. So this could be a real turnaround here. I like seeing it hold above the 200-day moving average. It's been doing it with respect since October 7th, minus this oopsie here, minus these 3 days this week. So, and it's curling higher. We talked about India already a little bit before. I think it's got a good, like I said, bullish 2 weeks with a 55 target short term. As you probably get into early 2026, if you like a turnaround story, exposure, this probably does take out 56 and start going higher. But do understand this isn't an absolute runaway chart. The 2-year highs are back there at 59. This is the slower mover is India. And the number 3 greatest gainer of the week, the airlines. Some airlines really under the hood, or I should say under the plane. Tired. Friday. Long day. Long night. December 17th was the high for the jets. It hit $29. It's up 1.5% this week. Not a monster week. Today up 70 bips. 52-week highs here. This is overbought, although nothing like the euphoria of silver. But these airlines, these charts have been looking good. You could see that chart, no real problems with the 200 moving average since the end of June. So an absolute great second half story. I personally don't want to chase this here. This I see correlated with the market in terms of the move over the next week. I want to give this another 3-5-ish days to base, and possibly you get this one at around 27.25, which would be a big 150 move. So we'll see. That would be essentially the area of the prior breakout from the 9th last week and the 20-day moving average before it entered this 200-day or up above this 52-week high. So, and I just see the stochastic momentum mix. It could go for a while, but it usually curls over here. Looks great. Not ready for $29. Got rejected. I just don't want to chase this right here. Someone tells me it has a date with about 27.5 in the next week. And then you should get in with a target of right around 28.5, probably actually closer to 29.25 in the Jets. All right. Great week, though, for silver, India, and the airlines. If you were in them, fools, congrats. You crushed the stock market from the long side. Let's look at the losers because some of these were big moves. The biggest mover lower, a big move, big one, Brazil. Down 6% this week. They've still had some political fallouts from this down 6% move on December 5th, the day after 52-week highs of $35, and boom, a plunge to 31. Although, look at this, still holding the 200 moving average, which is going higher, but not a good week. Brazil down basically 1% a day. I want to give this about another couple of days. It was flat today, so still no one really bidding this up. I think you can get this one with 31 even. I think it's controlled risk. I don't think they're going to hammer it from there. And a realistic, decent target is 32.5. And if we get the global bullish bull market story, this could head as high as 35. So I like the risk of return in Brazil. It's a little bit of a test right here. It's under 50 RSI. It hasn't had absolute momentum fall off here. And it's been having some decent candles, even with a bad week. But it does look constructive. So if you can get an entry here at 31 even, I don't know, you can buy the 31, give yourself some time, March calls. You can sell the 30 puts. You can buy the 32, 35 Feb call spreads. I would have to look at the option chain, but these are all things that I want to check the IV versus historical. But I think this is starting, like I said, I want to see this maybe it has a little bit more to give. And the 31 even, I do like it. I'm not going to be doing a ton of trading, like I said, going into Christmas and whatnot. I'm going to be on Santa's sleigh, of course. So, but this one would be, look, if you're still active, and, I don't know how much the Brazilians care about Christmas. I think they do, at least Navidad. Yeah, this one looks decent. I think the pain is almost done here for Brazil. Not encouraging that it's the worst ETF of the week, but I like the backdrop, and I'm seeing some nice things hold. So I don't want to buy it first thing Monday morning, probably maybe midweek. Hopefully you get a 31 handle, and then I think it's going north. All right, second biggest loser, and we talked about this already, was volatility. So it's Brazil and then vol. So if you're long Brazil calls, literally the worst trade on the board. Sorry if you were just straight EWZ long calls. You didn't sell anything against it. That was probably the worst trade in ETF land this week. I'm not going to kick you anymore. VXX, all-time lows. We've already talked about before, so I'm not going to bludgeon that. All right, and then the third one, energy really fell off a cliff. We had some we were talking on spaces, like where is oil going to close the week? We'll look at XOP. XOP down 5% basically on the week, down 4.6. An ugly move here, and just an instant rejection here on December 5th. Someone paid $139 for this. And from 139, look at this 200-day moving average, which hasn't moved in a long time. It's 126. And truly 11 days after that rejection, it's now grappling with that. And where are we? We're at 125.5. And the 200 days at 126.5. So this is what the folks have thought in terms of price, what this group is worth all year, 126.5. And now we're below it by $1. So I'm being as literal and as factual and objective as possible. Give this, like everything else, I'm having, I was very bearish, for example, a couple of days ago in terms of select areas. This looks like to me that all the charts are starting to be basically saying, give this like another couple of days to base. I think this might finally bottom at around 124, but that 200 days going lower. It's been since January. They're thinking less of the oil and gas explorers and producers all year long. So I'm not, in terms of a trend follower, not going to buy that chart and say, it's time. Every scroll gets a nut for this specific matter. This is a pretty broad in terms of exposure of XOP of the oil and gas names. And that's not a great looking 200 moving average. So I think this will base at 124 next week. And then I do think you'll get a bounce to about 131. And that will typically frustrate when you go under the 200 moving average. And then you get to a 20-day moving average. And then underneath it, a lower 200 moving average. That's frustrating, annoying money for almost any strat in terms of a long side bullish exposure. You definitely don't want that. terms of strategies, I don't think this is absolutely going to fall out of bed. If you have some statistical fortitude, you can sell the 124 puts. I'd have to see what it gets you in terms of pay, but I don't think it's actually a horrible strategy to do that. Otherwise, you can maybe, if you have faith in the group, you can buy the 125 calls, but you got to get out as soon as it gets to like 130 spot. All right. That was the third worst week. So if you're long Brazil, VXX, and XOP, no, this was not the week for you. You want to shut the laptop, close the Robinhood, wherever you're using, and say, no, this stunk. Top 3 trades of the past 5 days in all absolute manner. Long silver, short Brazil, short volatility. So massive ones there was short SLV puts. You would have collected like just magically fast. And if you were short any EWZ calls, they just evaporated throughout the week. And no reason to hold on to those positions, basically, because you reach target. All right, let's go to the year in review now, essentially. Top 3 trades over the past 52 weeks. I want to keep this diversified as well. It was pretty difficult because it's all one trade, essentially. And I would love to pay more attention to the individual countries. I know Spain and Switzerland, and some are having monster rips, but I still have a liquidity filter in terms of average daily shares volume traded. So some of those don't fulfill that, unfortunately. So this has to be an actual liquid, massive riser over the year. Number 1 trade of the year over year, from December 19th of 24 to December of today. December 19th of today is GDXJ up 168% to a new 52-week high today. And guys, I'm telling you, they love the catch-up trade. And this is coming for those December 2010 highs of a crazy 180. It's going to happen. We've been at 35 last year. We're always off multiple bags from here. And this has momentum fuel, the likes of which it hasn't had even back there during the 2010 times. This is, as you can see here, the 82 RSI will explain it to you. So 52-week highs today, just today. So that is the GDXJ. I think, as I said, when SPY bottoms and starts to pull away very soon, end of next week, you may get an invitation into this, the GOAT ETF of this year, to about 108, 108.5, which would be a very nice, about $9, almost like 8% rug pull. It's going to seem dramatic, but these juniors can move a lot. And then that would be a great invitation to ride this one into January and 2026 with, honestly, a 117 target. I don't think this one gets far north of 120 right here short term. This had a monster move already. Also notice overbought truly back here. Here you have 52-week high and a divergence. It is 70 RSI, but ideally you want to see it eclipse the prior highs, and it did not do that anywhere near. So it could run out of steam short term and get that $109, and then there you should absolutely pounce. And you could do several things there. You could, like I said before, sell the 109 puts, sell the 105 puts, see what that gets you, because this group moves. You can buy the 110 calls March. You could buy the 110, 120 call spread. You do a ratio. You do all kinds of things depending if you want to do net debit, net credit, etc. But GDXJ, the go of 2025, I don't think it changed in 2026. Just look how pristine, how beautiful this chart has been since January. No touches of the 200-day. It had one monster area being overbought, literally dominated from August to October. It looks like it could do it again here. Congrats if you held this one, the Gold Miner Juniors. Number 2, I tried to keep it a little bit, like I said, switched up, but this is silver, number 2 at 130%. So the Miner Juniors, and again, Miner Juniors is the most risk. And then the miners was a touch below that in terms of return. I think it was up 150. And then you get silver, the metal itself. We already talked about this chart, up a beautiful 3% today to up 130% year over year. Same thing as I said earlier. I'd rather just sit this one out for about a week or two tops, and then hopefully you get an invitation to about $54-ish. I don't think that's that crazy once the animal spirits for the market come back. And finally, let's talk about something not a metal. And this is honestly where the returns have been. It's South Korea up 74%. It's a crazy story because this peaked on November 3rd. It was just a couple of days after SPY. And now it's basically range bound is between that $100 level and 88. Now it's trying to carve this in. I was in this position up until last week. South Korea is the third best story year over year, especially if you get out of the metals. And this actually does have volume behind it, different from, there's some, Mexico, they're also doing well too. But South Korea up 74% year over year. And it's just been a great story, which really took off once the 200 moving average started to flatten and pick up some slope and enter overbought and with a volume increase. Things changed early summer for this group. Once it got above this, essentially this gap here at $63, $64, things were not the same after that. And it was really a truly different trajectory for EWY after that. Right here, the next couple of days, I think you have a shot of this potentially headed again towards 87. I'm not so sure they want to send it up immediately. It has been definitely an encouraging several days on what has been an amazing Geo ETF of the year, essentially. But I'm not so sure the downside is done. Maybe not as drastic as 87, maybe an 88, but I'm not so sure it's done to the downside. Then after that, I do think it'll pop to 92. And then I think it'll ultimately, probably in early January to mid-January, head to 97. When will it go and surpass those November highs of 101? I'm not so sure. My target for this would be close to 97, 97.5, tops 98. But that's a hell of a move considering right here we're at 91 and we're forecasting potential a little bit of a dip to 88. So there's a triple leverage ETF on this. You can play and hold it for 5 to 10 days, or 5 days, probably a better way to do it. And you get the spot move. So, if you're forecasting a 10% move in this, obviously moves 30%. I think it's Koru, K-O-R-U. So that is it. Only one more video, like I said, on Monday. I hope you join us. We're going to have Chris on to ask some questions and such. And we will have a great weekend. Treat others with respect. And Merry Christmas, I guess. Bye.